मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च मां विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते स्वामी नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणी वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all to the text 8 of the Nectar of Instruction. We have learned in the first 4 texts about what are the attitudes required to practice bhakti. Yeah? The 6 urges which one has to control, the 6 qualities that are favorable for devotional service, the 6 qualities that are detrimental to the practice of devotional service, the 6 exchanges of love that enhance the relationships between devotees. Yeah, these are the first 4 chapters of the Nectar of Instruction. And then in the 5th text, we have seen how one has to offer respects to different gradations of Vaishnavas. Yeah, and in the 6th text, we have learned about how one has to look into the inner essence of devotion, especially in when we are appreciating pure devotees of the Lord, and how we should not judge devotees by externals, and especially we should never judge great souls by external appearances. Yeah, this is what we have learned in text 6. And in the last text, we have learned about how the tongue that is afflicted by jaundice cannot taste sweet. Similarly, a jivatma or a living soul in the conditioned state cannot relish Krishna Bhakti or cannot relish the topics of Krishna. Why? It is just because the tongue has a natural taste for sweet. The tongue loves gulab jamun or rasgulla. But when we are down with a disease like jaundice or fever or anything, we cannot relish the sweetness of the sweets. Similarly, right now, since we are in a conditioned state, although there is a lot of Krishna Katha around, although we are chanting the holy names regularly, we are unable to access that sweetness. So as long as we do not have that taste, our practices are irregular or mechanical at best. Yeah, and so in the 7th text, Srila Rupa Goswami had also stated what is the cure for the diseased condition. So he gave the analogy that just as jaundice is cured by sugar candy, this is an Ayurvedic recipe. Okay, so jaundice is cured by sugar candy. Similarly, our lack of taste for bhakti or our lack of taste for Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes can be cured by Krishna's name only. By constantly hearing about Krishna, our material disease is cured and we recover and regain our natural spiritual health. This is the regimen. Yeah, the medical regimen, the prescription. So what Srila Prabhupada has given us, the morning program, yeah, the Mangalarti, the chanting of 16 rounds of japa, and the various angas of bhakti. There are 64 limbs of bhakti, which we are going to discuss in the Nectar of Devotion. So by practicing all this, it's like, a full-scale prescription for the cure of this material disease. And when the material disease is cured, one regains one's natural spiritual health, where one's heart spontaneously utters the name of Krishna. One's heart is naturally and spontaneously attracted to anything related about Krishna. One begins to see Krishna everywhere and in every living entity. Yeah, and then remembrance becomes very spontaneous. Anusmriti, that is what we're going to discuss today in today's topic. Yeah. So this is the advanced level of the previous verse, where what does a person do having attained constancy, yeah, in the taste for bhakti. Let me share the screen. Yes. So first, let us recite this verse and look into the translation. Nectar of Instruction, text 8. Tannama rupa charitadi sukirtananu smrityu kramena rasana manasi niyojya tishtan vraje tadanuragi jananugami kalam naedakhilamiti upadesha saram. Translation. The essence of all advice. So this is the title of today. The essence of all advice. Yeah. Upadesha saram. Saram means essence. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time. Yeah. Kalam naye akhilam. Yeah. Akhilam means completely. So one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day. Doing what? In nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes. That is what is Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtana. Yeah. Sukirtana means to chant and discuss. Kirtana means chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Sukirtana means very nicely doing it. Yeah. All of us do Kirtana, but Sukirtana is much more elevated way of doing it, of doing Kirtana. Yeah. So what are you doing the Sukirtana? Tan. Tan means Tat. Tat means of Lord Krishna. Nama Rupa Charitadi. Nama means the holy name. Rupa means the form. Charita is the character. Yeah. And pastimes. Adi means etc. Yeah. Tan Nama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtana. So one has to spend their full time, that is 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. Yeah, kramena. Kramena means gradually. Yeah, rasana, manasi. Rasana means engaging the tongue and the mind. Very, very important. Yeah. If you remember, in the first verse of Nectar of Instruction, we have learned that Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udhara Upastha Vegam. Yeah, the urge of the tongue, belly, and the genitals, which are situated in one straight line, is very difficult to control. But by controlling these three urges, one can actually become a great spiritual leader. So here in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami is further telling about how, the process of control. It is by engaging this tongue and mind in what? By gradually chanting Sukirtana of the name, form, pastimes, and character of the Supreme Lord. So what happens if you do this? That's the next part. In this way, one should reside in Braja, Broloka Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So, iti upadesha sara. This is the essence of all advice. So this is a very little elevated topic, but nonetheless, I will try to explain this as to how much we can apply at our level. So, so basically, once, as it is, as Srila Rupa Goswami is suggesting, that one's tongue, yeah, rasana and manasi, one's tongue and mind has to be kramena, gradually engaged, yeah, in chanting the holy names of Krishna and hearing about him. So why Srila Rupa Goswami has suggested that they have to be gradually engaged? Because initially there is so much of reluctance in our mind. Yeah, the mind has past impressions from many births. And in this mind, there is a conscious mind and subconscious mind, the chitta, which is a storehouse of all past impressions and inclinations and desires. So because of that, the chitta always dictates the mana to, to pursue sense gratification, yeah, to pursue the urges of the senses, yeah. So, so in that way, the mind actually, which is supposed to be a good friend to the soul, becomes an enemy. When actually the mind becomes uncontrolled and it yields to the demands of the senses. Yeah. So that is when the mind becomes a worst enemy. Yeah. So in the 6th chapter, 6th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advises, yeah, for one who has conquered his mind, the mind is the best friend. But for one who has not conquered the mind, the same mind becomes the worst enemy. Yeah. So, so in this way, the uncontrolled mind actually takes a person for a ride, yeah, and deprives the person of the original nectar to which the jiva is naturally entitled to. You know what the soul is actually entitled to? It is like the soul is entitled to 10 crores, but the mind is making the soul hanker after 1 rupee. Yeah, all life after life. So this is how the mind is cheating us. Yeah, I repeat, the soul is entitled to 10 crores, but the mind is cheating the soul for an enjoyment of 1 rupee, and not for some time, birth after birth, birth after birth, and birth after birth. And what is this 1 rupee? This 1 rupee is, our materialistic goals, egoistic pursuits, yeah, and sense gratificatory attachments. So as the mind is chasing after all these, it keeps the soul away from its natural constitutional position of being a loving servant of Krishna. So this is how the mind cheats the individual soul. So, so that is why this mind has to be gradually, kramena, yeah, engaged in the service of the Lord. And how? How is this accomplished? By engaging the tongue in the service of Krishna. Yeah. Atha Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet krahyam indriyai sevum mukhe jivvadav swayam eva suratyam. Atha Sri Krishna Namadi, the holy name, fame, name, form, pastimes, and everything about Lord Krishna. Na bhavet grahyam indriyai, they cannot be experienced through these senses. Yeah, this is the malady. The malady is that through this gross senses of the eyes, the mind, and everything, we cannot experience Krishna, because Krishna is Satchidananda, he's transcendental. But there is a way out. Sevon mukhehi jihvadav swayam eva spuratiyada. Yeah, swayam eva is very important. Yeah, Krishna, when he is pleased by what? By devotional service. Swayameva Suratyada. He himself reveals. And how? Sevon Mukhehi Jihvado. When you begin to serve by starting with the tongue, Jihva. So the entire service to Lord Krishna starts with the tongue and with the ears. With the tongue, glorify the Supreme Lord. Chant the holy names of the Lord. With the ears, simply hear about the Lord. Just by using these two sense organs, we can actually, attain our highest destination. So these senses are a blessing, but if not used for the right purpose, they can be, the biggest cheaters. So this is how the mind and tongue have to be constantly engaged. If not, as I said, one cannot access, one cannot access the Supreme Lord without his mercy. I mean, I don't know if any of you heard of my session yesterday. So I was telling about how Lord Hanuman, when he, in the Sundarakanda episode, when he has landed in Lanka, for a long time, he was searching around for Sita. He searched around the entire palace, the nook and corner of Ravana's palace. He searched around the entire Lanka, but he could not find. So when he could not find Sita anywhere, he was a little dejected, and he sat down and he started thinking, rather overthinking, about why he could not, what are the consequences he's going to face right now. He thought, if I now, how would I go back and show my face to Ram? If I go back and tell Ram that I did not find Sita, he will not survive. And if Ram does not survive, Lakshman does not survive. And if Ram Lakshman don't survive, Bharat will not. And if Bharat does not survive, Shatrugna will leave his body. And seeing all of them leave the body, the three mothers, Kaushalya, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, all three of them are going to leave the body. And when all three of them leave the body, none of the Ayodhya-vasis will stay alive. And if none of the Ayodhya-vasis stay alive, seeing such a pathetic situation that he could not help his friend, Sugriva will give up his life. Seeing Sugriva give up his life, Angada will also die. And seeing Sugriva and Angada die, Ruma and Tara, the wives of Sugriva, are also going to die. And seeing their entire, the royal clan collapse, none of the Kishkinda Vasis, the Kishkinda race will perish immediately. And Hanuman starts thinking, and I am going to be the cause of this entire destruction. He just feels so low and depressed. So we all think, we all sometimes feel maybe, am I overthinking? Or we all think that, is this negative thinking? But look at Hanumanji, the heights of overthinking and negative thinking. So we're all prone to it. Sometimes mind takes us for a ride. And we think of so many consequences, especially in the face of dejection. But how did Hanuman overcome this? So at that moment, he just sat down, he closed his eyes, and he has just silently and diligently, in a mood of surrender, in a mood of taking deep shelter, he took the shelter of the Lord within his heart and offered deep and profound prayers. He prayed to the Lord in his heart that, "Oh Ram, oh Lakshmana, please help me find Sita." And he also prayed to all, the Indra, the Maruts, the Vayu, all the demigods, to empower him to actually find Mother Sita. So when he actually took this deep shelter in his heart and surrendered, so it was at that time that he stopped depending on his own buddhibala, and he started taking shelter of Lord Ram through the medium of helpless prayers. And when he did that, a miracle happened. Immediately, he became so small, and in one giant leap, he landed in the Ashoka Vatika. So, and when he opened his eyes, he was in Ashoka Vatika, and he saw all these demonesses harassing Sita and everything else. whatever, what happened is like the next thing. But what we can learn through this is Ashoka Vatika was right in front of Hanumanji's eyes, but he could not see it. Yeah. So many times in our life, the solutions are right in front of our eyes, but we cannot see them. We can only access them only when we depend on the mercy of the Lord and take shelter of His mercy. Another thing is, he could not find Sita because Sita Maya is Shakti Tattva. She is the goddess of fortune. Unless she permits, one cannot take the darshan of the Supreme Goddess. So when Hanumanji, with his own strength, he tried to find Mother Sita, he could not. But when he took shelter, offered prayers, and tried to connect to the Lord, that's when, and offered prayers to Mother Sita, that's when Sita Maya permitted him to come and have her darshan. So this is the point that I'm saying. Swayam eva spurati yada. Yeah. The holy name, pastimes, and everything about Lord Krishna are all powerful, but they are inaccessible to our mundane senses. But when we serve with faith, when we serve regularly, when we serve with devotion, in a mood of taking shelter, in a mood of sharanagati, surrender, then they swayam eva spuratyada. Yeah. By Krishna's mercy, on their own, they become revealed to us. Just like how Hanumanji got the darshan of Mother Sita. So this is the science and secret of devotion. The science of secret of devotion is that the path of bhakti is the path of grace. Your endeavor is there and it is very important, but it is only the crucial 0.5%. It's the crucial 0.5%. The 99.5% is Krishna's mercy. Yeah, but this 0.5% we have to take care to actually, qualify ourselves for this 99.5. But we should never forget that my part is only 0.5%. And whatever Krishna is doing, and is simply His grace, which is the other 99.5%, which will actually complete the equation and get me to that stage of perfection. So this aspect, realizing this aspect makes one humble, dependent, and surrendered. Until then, one is on Manorathe, mental platform, doing one's own endeavors. Okay. So, So in this particular verse, there is another very interesting word. This word is called Anusmriti. Yeah, this word is called Anusmriti. Yeah, if I can take you back to the verse, it's called Tannama Krupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Nimochya. Yeah, so Anusmrityo means remembering. So what is Smriti is remembering. Then what is Anusmriti? So Srila Prabhupada in this purport, he gives a very beautiful understanding about the very different stages of hearing Krishna Katha. Yeah. So this is very, very interesting and very important. And please pay attention. So, in the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. Yeah, this all of us know and we have understood. Yeah. So this is called Shravana Dasa. Yeah, Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. So by constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his form, qualities, and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha. So initially, as I said, we were talking about the mind being the best friend and the worst enemy. Yeah, in the initial stage of sadhana, the mind is very reluctant. Yeah, I'm sure all of us can relate to this if we just close our eyes and remember about the quality of our chanting early in the morning. How much is our mind naturally and spontaneously absorbed in Krishna's holy name? Is it that we chant name Krishna and our mind becomes like, wow, a blotting paper and just one drop of ink spreads all over. And I just say Krishna and my mind is filled with the bliss and ecstasy of the sweetness of the name of Krishna. Is our mind like that? No. Why? Because it is in a state of reluctance. It is in that disease stage of jaundice. So this is Shravana Dasha, yeah, where we are even hearing about the holy name or even the pastimes, Krishna Katha. We are unable to relish its true sweetness, the original sweetness. So as Srila Rupa Goswami has stated, the cure of this is to continue to hear. Yeah, just like in the jaundice stage, the cure is again a sweet candy, sugar candy. Yeah. So continue to hear the name and form and pastimes of Krishna, the Krishna Katha. So what happens when you continue to hear? Here is the crux. So by continuous hearing of Krishna Katha, even though it is not palatable, or even though it is not giving that ecstasy and taste and that ruchi, if one continues to hear regularly, sincerely, with submission in the heart, and as a matter of following the instructions with implicit faith, yeah, Srila Prabhupada has instructed to hear continuously about Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami is instructing to hear continuously about Krishna. So following these instructions of great acharyas with faith in their words, although today we do not have that faith or the taste in the holy name and in the pastimes of Krishna, just by keeping that faith in the words of acharya, if we continuously hear regularly and sincerely, from the stage of Krishna Katha, we reach the next stage called, from the stage of Shravana Dasha, we reach the next stage called Varana Dasha. Yeah. And if one can come to the stage of Varana Dasha, it is called the stage of acceptance. Yeah. So now, a lot of this dirt accumulated since millions of births, it started getting cleared. Yeah. It's a clearing stage. And after the clearing happens, you reach the stage of acceptance. Yeah. So you're like recovering your original health. You're coming back to your normal health. What is the stage of acceptance? You become attached to hearing Krishna Katha. It's like, wow, it starts tasting sweet again. The initial stages, you begin to access, first you're in the stage of acceptance. Your heart is just recovering from that disease. From the stage of reluctance, you have entered into the stage of an acceptance. Yeah, then nobody has to tell you, please hear regularly. You don't have to show it in the sadhana chart. How many times in a week I have heard from what time to what time, or how many, at what time I have chanted. It's very good and important to keep a sadhana chart, because what gets measured gets managed. If you don't keep a measure, we get lost. Even the Shad Goswamis, they have kept a count of their chanting. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natihi Kalavasani Kritav. Yeah, Sankhya Purvaka means by counting. So from this stage of reluctance, a person through sincerity and through faith in the words of the acharyas, by continuously and consistently hearing, reaches this beautiful stage called the stage of acceptance, called the Varana Dasha. Yeah. So in this Varana Dasha, one begins to get attached to hearing Krishna Katha. Okay. So when one attains the stage of Varana Dasha, as they continue, as I said, so Varana Dasha means, now no longer pushing. Yeah, the senses start cooperating. Yeah, the mind starts becoming your friend. Yeah, instead of the mind trying to pull you away from Krishna consciousness, the mind begins to tell you, hey, come on, let's do this. This is such a wonderful, you feel wonderful taste in this. You have a nice time doing this. Come on, let's hear more. Let's chant more. So mind starts dictating in this positive way. Can you imagine? So then what happens when you continue to practice? You begin to chant in ecstasy, and you enter the next stage called the Smaranavastha. What is the Smaranavastha? It's a very, very beautiful stage. There's 5 amazing stages of Smarana. Krishna Smarana. Yeah. So what is this Krishna Smaranam? This is a spontaneous remembrance of Krishna. Yeah, please understand, until now, for us, if we have to remember Krishna, we have to chant his holy name, or we have to have the beautiful darshan of the deity, or recite his beautiful prayers and put an effort in actually remembering him. Yeah, but if you attain the stage of smaranavastha by having passed through the stage of varanadasha, then in this smaranavastha, what is happening? You're spontaneously remembering Krishna without any external effort. And this smaranavastha is in 5 stages, 5 progressive stages. Yeah. So these are 5 progressive stages of Krishna Smarana. So what are these 5 progressive stages? Very interesting. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Yeah. So this trance is samadhi and constant remembrance is anusmriti. So this is what exactly is the anusmriti that we are referring to in the original text that we have studied. Yeah. Tannama rupa charitadi. Yeah. Yeah. Tannama rupa charitadi. Taking you back to the verse. Sukirtana anusmrityo. Yeah. Anusmritya. Anusmritya means the anusmriti. So anusmriti is the 4th stage of the smaranavastha. Yeah. The 4th stage of Krishna Smarana. So what is this first stage? First stage is recollection. Yeah. In this stage of recollection, the remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted. Yeah. Yeah. You're getting the taste. You have accepted, but still the remembrance is interrupted at intervals. Yeah. So this is the first stage of recollection. That means the pastimes of Lord Krishna, they come into your memory and you reflect on them and they come spontaneously without effort. But this remembrance is interrupted. That means it has not yet reached that maturity. So as this remembrance of Krishna keeps continuing and one continues to chant and hear. So one word of caution here is, at no stage of life does a devotee or a sadhaka ever stop their practices of hearing and chanting. They continue to do it. Yeah, till the perfectional stage. In the perfectional stage also, you'll be doing the same thing, chanting and hearing, but at a different level of ecstasy and realization. So as a sadhaka, so okay, I have come to the stage of spontaneous remembrance, so maybe I don't have to chant and hear anymore because it's happening automatically. No, a sadhaka continues his sadhana. Yeah. So remembrance become uninterrupted and so first stage is recollection. After recollection, which is remembrance with interruptions at regular intervals, later on it becomes an absorption. Yeah. So that is uninterrupted remembrance. Yeah. Recollection becomes absorption. What is absorption? Uninterrupted remembrance. Yeah. And when this uninterrupted remembrance becomes concentrated, it becomes meditation. That means, yeah, the remembrance of this, the name and the pastimes of the Lord are happening automatically and in an uninterrupted way. Yeah, that is the next stage of absorption. A person becomes absorbed. And when this absorption becomes very deepened, yeah, and it becomes very intense and focused, such a remembrance is called meditation. Yeah, it's called meditation. And when this meditation expands, it becomes what is called anusmriti. Yeah. So anusmriti, when it becomes uninterrupted and unceasing, yeah, then one enters into the ultimate stage of samadhi or trance. When one spontaneously remembers about the form, name, pastimes in ecstasy. Yeah. In a total samadhi. Samadhi means oblivious, totally oblivious of the surroundings. So this is actually one of the pastimes of Srila Rupa Goswami. One day he was in this trance, in this state of samadhi, meditating and now lost in the trance of seeing the pastimes of the Lord in his divine vision. So when he was seeing these pastimes of Radha and Krishna in his divine vision, he was in such ecstasy that he became very oblivious of the surroundings. So when he became oblivious of the surroundings, and in that pastime that he was visualizing, he saw that Radharani was trying to pluck some flowers. Then Krishna came and he actually bent the branch of the tree so low that she could actually pluck. So, I mean, at that time, so Radharani, she could not pluck the flower because the branch was so far, so high, up in the air. But when Krishna stood on that branch and, he slightly bent that branch, she could reach that branch and she was plucking the flowers. And she was very happy. And as she was plucking, she held on to that branch. And the moment she held on to that branch, Krishna has just removed his lotus feet from the branch and he just got down. And the moment he got down, the branch that was bent, it immediately swung up. And along with the branch, Radharani, because she was so light, she was so delicate, she was so tender, so she also just flew in the air and she just went up, because of her very delicate nature. So seeing that, it was like a transcendental joke. So, Rupa Goswami, in his own mind, he was like, he felt it was funny and he was kind of laughing, seeing the nutcut nature of Krishna. So when he was laughing to himself, at that time, a person who was, handicapped, he didn't have legs, he was a normal person. He was just walking through. And when Srila Rupa Goswami was laughing to himself, this person who was lame, he actually felt that, maybe perhaps he's laughing at me because of my disability. So he felt bad for some reason and he just left. So the moment he felt bad, Srila Rupa Goswami's, this divine vision, like, just like when you unplug a television, and when you switch it off, it turns off, right? So similarly, his divine vision just got turned off. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he started feeling, oh, why? Why did this vision disappear? Why did this vision disappear? And a devotee actually, who actually has a vision of the Lord, in the absence of that vision, they go crazy. Now we see this in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Narada Muni has received the mercy of the Bhakti Vedantas, he went, and after his mother has left the body, goes to the forest and meditates on, sitting in meditation. He meditates on the Lord, remembering the instructions of the Bhakti Vedantas. So in that deep meditation, he actually gets the darshan of the beautiful form of the Lord within his own heart. And he gets a glimpse and immediately the Lord disappears. And the Lord, in a voice, he tells that, oh Narada, my dear boy, in this lifetime, you will not get my darshan again. Yeah, can you imagine the Lord speaking and saying that? So when Narada Muni gets to know that, he goes mad in separation. Because that one glimpse of the darshan of the infinite beauty of the Lord, he feels his soul in connection with the most divine ecstasy of love. And one moment he had that, and another moment he felt that he has become, like a millionaire has become a pauper. So he just goes crazy, he goes mad. And, he just runs like a madman in the entire jungle on the mountains, crying out for the Lord, oh my Lord, kindly please give me your darshan again. So at that time, the Lord tells Narada Muni, so that this fire of separation is going to burn away the remaining anarthas. And in this lifetime, you will not be able to see me again, but at the end of this life, you will come back to me. So, so that fire of separation actually purifies, very intensely purifies a devotee of all the remnant anarthas. Yeah, no other sadhana is needed. We can develop that state of feeling separation for the Lord, that fire of separation can purify the heart immensely of all the unwanted things. So Srila Rupa Goswami here has lost this vision of the beautiful vision of the pastime of the Lord, of Radha and Krishna. So he felt so lost, felt so deprived, was out of his mind. So he didn't know what to do. So he was besides himself, unable to access that vision any longer. So at that time, what he does, he goes to, and this is the most important thing we need to learn here. So when we are lost in our practices, we always need a guru, a mentor. So he runs to Srila Sanatana Goswami for rescue. So just as, when the disciple is lost, the guru always helps. Just like Srila Vyasadeva was lost when he wrote all the Vedic literature and still feeling unsatisfied. He was lost. Narada Muni came and enlightened him. So similarly, Rupa Goswami was lost. He went and he sought the shelter of Sanatana Goswami. That time, Sanatana Goswami, he hears what Rupa Goswami tells him. And he asks him one question. Did you offend anyone? So, this is Vaishnavism. Yeah. Slightest offense to Vaishnavas, and we are nowhere. Yeah. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if you want to go back to Godhead, it is very simple. Just follow 2 instructions. Chant the holy names and do not offend Vaishnavas. Just follow these 2 instructions and you will go back to Godhead. It's a very heart of devotion. Yeah, one is to practice chanting, and second is to avoid offenses. So Sanatana Goswami asks, did you offend? He says, no, I have not. Then he asks, perhaps you did. You need to go and beg forgiveness, even if you didn't know that you did. So Srila Rupa Goswami, following that instructions, he goes and begs around everybody that, oh, please tell me, have I offended anybody here, either knowingly or unknowingly? Yeah, and the way he was piteously begging and crying, that lame man who passed by at that time, he feels very bad that, he's really going through so much of trauma. Let me go and apologize and confess. So he reaches him and he says that, Rupa Goswami, for a moment I felt bad in my heart, but I don't blame you. So at that moment, Rupa Goswami falls on the ground and seeks forgiveness, begs forgiveness. And that's when, he regains again, he reinstates himself in his original spiritual potency. And he was able to have the divine mission again. So this is what is samadhi. Yeah, samadhi. Of course, the lesson that I was talking about is about Vaishnava Paradas, but still, what I'm trying to say is the stage of samadhi or trance is that stage when one can actually get the vision of truly seeing, just like how we watch a video or how we watch a television. That's how great, pure devotees can see the spiritual world right in front of them. In fact, even Srila Prabhupada, when he was telling his disciples what to paint, why do you think the paintings of ISKCON are so special, so beautiful, so out of this world? And Srila Prabhupada called them the spiritual windows. Yeah. The windows to the spiritual world, he called them. Yeah. So why? Because when he was explaining the artists what to paint and draw, Prabhupada actually was seeing the spiritual world. So it is not ordinary. So these paintings that is why not ordinary. They're very special paintings. That is why they attract our souls so much. So this is trance. Yeah. So as I said, these are the progressive stages of Krishna Smaranam. Yeah. Recollection, absorption. Then absorption is followed by meditation. And when meditation intensifies, or expands, it is called anusmriti. Yeah. And Anusmriti, when it becomes unceased or uninterrupted, it progresses into the highest stage of samadhi or trance. Yeah. A stage where a devotee spontaneously, constantly, effortlessly, and 24 hours a day is in constant remembrance of Lord Krishna and his pastimes. So the name, fame, pastimes, and characters and qualities of the Lord are remembered spontaneously. So this is the way of devotion and bhakti. This is the way of remembering the Supreme Lord. So when one does that, and here is the the highest and like the Upadesha Sara is that when one reaches such stage, what should one do? One should reside in Vraja, Goloka Vrindavan, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So basically, there are two types of bhakti, yeah, the Vaidhi Bhakti and the Raga Bhakti. So Vaidhi Bhakti is the devotion which entails that we have some rules and regulations. Yeah. That is like, have some do's and don'ts, vidhi vidhan. Yeah. Whenever it is called Vaidhi Bhakti. So initially, the devotion has to be in the framework. Vaidhi Bhakti is like a framework. It gives a framework in the framework of Vaidhi Bhakti. So later on, as the one develops that sincerity, regularity, and seriousness, so automatically, Krishna's when one receives the mercy of Guru and Krishna, yeah. So one progresses into a stage of spontaneous devotion called the Raga Bhakti, yeah? Raga Anuga Bhakti. So these details we're going to discuss in the Nectar of Devotion. What is Vaidhi Bhakti and what is Raga Bhakti? So in this stage of Raga Bhakti, one actually becomes attached to staying in Vrindavan and following the footsteps of perfected devotees. Yeah? And by following in their footsteps and doing constant bhajana, one attains perfection. So this is the process, yeah, in the advanced stage. So, and Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes that when one comes to that advanced stage, one naturally becomes attached to a particular perfected devotees, and depending on the rasa that they desire, they are attached to the Lord, or they reawaken their love for God in any of the 5 primary rasas of being, in the Dasya rasa as by being the flute or the flower or the garland of Krishna, or in the Dasya rasa by being servitors like Raktaka, Chitraka, these are the names of Krishna's favorite servants, or following in the footsteps of the Gopas like Sridhama, Subala. Krishna has, primary sakhas who assist in his pastimes. Subala, Madhumangala, Stoka Krishna, Ujjvala, all these are the sakhas of Lord Krishna. Or or in the conjugal rasas, in the Madhurya rasas, one can follow in the footsteps of the sakhis of Srimati Radharani, like Lalita, Vishaka, Tunga Vidya, Rangadevi, Sudev. All these are favorite Priya Sakhis. Recently I spoke about the 5 different types of Sakhis of Radharani. Yeah. The Priya Narma Sakhis, the Parama Preshta Sakhis. There are different types of Sakhis which we see in the Ujjvala Nilamani. Very interesting topics. And or the Manjaris, like Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, Lavanga Manjari. All these are Manjaris are like this, they are servitors of the Sakhis. And they engage in very confidential service to the divine couple, Sri Radha and Krishna. So these are all the exalted and the elevated stages of practicing devotion. So, as Srila Rupa Goswami has recommended in this verse, Kramena, So one should gradually train the mind in actually acclimatizing to and getting attached to the name and form. So this training is very, very important. The mind is like a child. Yeah, a child is innocent. If the child is not trained and disciplined, the child is spoiled. Similarly, the mind, needs to be trained. That's why the training starts right from the early age, childhood. But somehow, whatever age we have, get crashed into the school of bhakti, never late. But we have to now, reprogram, train our mind to again somehow and adjust our life in such a way that we get that undisturbed time to practice our sadhana and aspire and understand what are these progressive stages. See, right now we have discussed about very elevated subject matters, but one needs, but knowledge of this is important because one needs to know where one is going and what is it there in the next stage. One's aspiration becomes more clear. Yeah. And so kramena, gradually one has to train the mind. Because why this mind has to be trained? Because Antyakale Narayana Smriti, that is the perfection of human life. Yeah. At the end of life, if you're able to remember Krishna and leave the body, that is the ultimate perfection. So, but to remember Krishna at the end of life is such a challenge. It's not easy. If you have any other attachment greater than your attachment to Krishna, that's the only thing that is going to come to you at the time of death. It's not going to be Krishna. Yeah. And what is your attachment? Pick up your bead bag and start chanting. All your attachment starts flashing in your mind. It's not difficult to know what your attachment is. So to develop that attachment to Krishna, it's a practice. It's a serious practice. Yeah. Just like if you have to give your exams at college, it's a serious preparation. Yeah. I mean, these days it's multiple choice. You never know. You might even just make it even without preparation and just by sitting in the examination hall. But the true nature of an exam is that one has to prepare. Without preparation, one cannot give the exam. Similarly, one has not prepared one's mind throughout one's life. It's impossible to remember Krishna at the time of death. And at the time of death, I know, I have recently heard of a scientific paper that is published. It has been published that exactly when a person is close to death, his memory, the memory center in the brain becomes extremely active. Extremely active. You begin to remember everything about your life right from childhood. Yeah. And this has been recorded. It's an evidence. Yeah. The memory becomes extremely active just few minutes before you die. The memory centers of the brain. So that's scientific evidence for this fact. So in that memory, if we do not have strong impressions of an attachment for Krishna, that's not going to be what we are going to prominently recall at the time of leaving the body. So these prominent, samskaras of being attached to Krishna comes through service, by getting the grace of the Guru. Yeah, by feeling it. When does that attachment to the Lord develop? By getting the grace of the spiritual master. So unless our life is filled with such quality services that have pleased the Vaishnavas, that has pleased the Guru, we're not going to make it. We're not going to remember Krishna at the time of death. We'll only remember our attachments. It's simple. Simple science and logic is this. So that is why it is very important. Kramena. Yeah. Rasana and Manasa. So Rasana means the tongue has to be trained. The tongue has to be trained to chant the holy name of Krishna, eat only the prasadam of Krishna. And one has to train the ears to hear only Krishna Katha, to hear the holy names of Krishna. and do not hear unnecessary things, be it gossip or nonsensical stuff. So it takes training, yeah, because for millions of birth, the senses are used to something else, sense gratification. So now it's a reprogramming. So gradually, when one does that, success is guaranteed, because that is the power of bhakti. That is the power of the pros and potency of bhakti yoga. Definitely one can attain perfection. So this is Upadesha Sara, Iti Upadesha Sara. Thank you all very much. I will end the session here. Today in this text 8, we have discussed about what is the essence of all advices. So the essence of all advices is that one has to, in a gradual way, engage one's mind and senses in chanting and remembering the name, fame, and glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna. And by gradually doing so, one elevates oneself to actually live in the holy land of Braj, and following in the footsteps of the perfected souls, one can actually attain perfection. And this is the essence of all advice, and the greatest of all advices, Upadesha Sara. Thank you all very much. I will end here.